This is Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom with your host, Dr. Janet Smith Warfield. Dr. Janet explores the meanings of our challenging and ecstatic life experiences, clarifies the meanings of words we use, opens up our minds to more freedom and choice, and offers insights into our everyday lives. Please welcome the host of Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, Dr. Janet Smith Warfield.
Welcome to Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom. I'm your host, Dr. Janet Smith Warfield, with my guest today, Sharon Riegie Maynard. Hope I got that right, Sharon. She works to encourage and empower women in their leadership. So I can see we have a lot we can talk about here today. Sharon, welcome.
Thank you, Janet. It's a pleasure and honor to be here, and having a conversation with you, of course, is always delightful. So I'm glad to be here.
I know you have a very strong sense of life purpose. When did that start? And do you have any stories around that kind of sent you along the path that you're on now?
Well, you know, Janet, I have talked to lots of women, men too. I don't think any of us get to where we are without lots of stories. So my story began when I was maybe 3 or 4. And, of course, I was a young girl in a patriarchal system. And so after dinner, gathered at my grandfather's home, the men would go into what would be called, I guess, the sitting room. They didn't smoke, so it was a sitting room. And I would go in there, and I would just be held by my father, and these men would talk about spiritual things, and especially about a time when we would be at peace and the world would be amazing. And I don't even remember the concepts, but I remember the feeling of just being in that place and hearing those words, which I don't even know if I knew what they meant, but I knew what they felt like. So that is a really powerful first memory for me. Then I grew up, did the traditional patriarchal system type things, had lots of children, and my husband was the one who spoke to God, if you will, and told me what that meant, until myself, as a very curious person, said, well, hey, maybe I can also get some information from God, and started to experiment with asking questions into the unseen to see what Christ would say to me about my role as a mother, which was very, very valuable, because 4 years later, my husband was killed in a car accident. So I was left as the major parent in these children's lives. And I remember one evening, I don't even know what the concern was. And of course, in that model, it's I'm praying and I'm talking to God and I'm asking questions, and a little bit differently than I had been taught within the religious system. And I just was overwhelmed with a feeling of love and grace and peace, and that I had never experienced before. And I may have had a piece of it when I was very, very young with those men, but in that moment I said, I do not know what it will take to live in this space, but what I want to know, what do I need to do? It was amazing. And of course, it didn't last, but nevertheless, my communication continued to ask questions about raising my kids in the best way I could. Found myself in New York City with a woman who was doing crystal chakra balancing, which was like hands-on energy and working with crystals and the information from the chakra. And I was doing an interview with her. When I got home, she had shown me the process. In fact, she'd had me at the table working with her very reluctantly. And I saw the value of this moving unseen energy, having the ability to move it, to correct it, to balance it. And I had previously been introduced to affirmations. I'd seen their value in bringing my own personal preferences to the table, So this unseen energy and moving it was new. So I said to my team, my spiritual team I had at the time, and that had been like 20 years or so, I said, I see the value of this unseen energy, and I also see that people who are coming to me for these healings continue to cycle. They come back, something else gets triggered, then something else gets triggered, and I'm told it's the onion layer, and we have to go through the onion layer. So, but I want to go to the cause of humanity's suffering. I want to eliminate it at its cause. And they said, okay, but we will have to teach you, because people are doing the onion layer, the symptoms, and they are not going to cause. And of course, I'm in the place where I'm going, like, anything I need to do to help people live in that place of peace and love and wonder, and I want to know how to do that. And that began my trek, and that was in 89, 90, and that led me to understanding that what I had been taught in the patriarchal system about the gender roles, men and women, male, female, was absolutely backward. and key to getting that corrected was to help women understand that they had a literal, I call it an assigned vibration, an assigned purpose. And I wanted to help them step into that. And in order to do that, I had to learn where I wasn't in alignment to that purpose and where I diminished the female presence, etc. So it required my own healing of my own concepts that I had been raised within, but left me with a very strong commitment to the women's role as leader and men's role as nurturer, because that to me is really critical to getting our world in balance in that shift we all want it to be.